Over to Sian for the news headlines.
Thank you. A summit of all 28 EU leaders to discuss the crisis in Greece has been cancelled. They were due to meet this evening in Brussels, but talks between the finance ministers and leaders of the Eurozone countries will take place in an attempt to agree a new bailout deal. The Greek government is asking for about 70 billion euros, but there are doubts over whether it will impose sufficient austerity measures to satisfy the country's creditors, with this weekend seen as the final opportunity for a deal. The Business Secretary has defended the Chancellor's budget, saying it was fair and well balanced and would ensure that economic recovery continues. Sajid Javid acknowledged that after every budget there are some losers and some winners, but he told this programme every family is a winner if the country lives within its means. He was responding to criticism of the scale of cuts to benefits and tax credits announced in the budget last week. Well, that's all from me. The next news on BBC One is at 12:15. Back to Andrew in a moment, but first a look at what's coming up immediately after this programme.
On Sunday Morning Live, Benefits Britain. Was the budget tough love or a kick in the teeth for hard-pressed families? Trade in Nazi memorabilia is banned or restricted in many countries. Should it be here too? And we hear from Bona Ahmed, who was attacked by a religious mob for her secular beliefs. Can religion and free speech coexist? We'll see you at 10.
Sajid Javid is still here, joined again by Gillian Tett. Sajid, one of the things I didn't ask you about from the budget was planning. If you're a local authority, are you going to have to produce a certain number of houses before the government comes in and imposes those house building rules on you? How's it going to work?
Well, so we launched a productivity plan this week, right after the budget, and it has a lot of planning changes in it. If you're a local authority, you already have to decide how many houses you need in your local community. What we said in the productivity plan is that if you don't produce that plan and you don't produce it quickly enough, the so-called local plan will have it produced for you.
And how quickly is quickly enough?
Well, we're going to set that out over the coming months, and the rules. I think we want to make sure that we work with local authorities to set out rules that
local authority planners should have a long, hot summer, slaving over their desks, coming up with numbers pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think we've given them sufficient incentive.
All right, Gillian.
Yes, I wanted to quickly turn to the question of corporation tax reform. You talked, one of your centrepiece of your budget was the cut corporation tax. Are you not concerned that that's going to cause a backlash from the rest of the European Union? Because there has been a lot of warnings coming out from countries like Germany recently saying we don't want member states cutting tax competitively.
Well, it's a good point, and Germany's probably not the only one, but one of the rules of the EU today are that you set your own tax rates. And I want to see our tax rates, and especially when it comes to business, to be the most competitive. I think at 18%, we're certainly going to be the lowest in the G20. And I think we should think of it as like a huge sign that says Britain is open for business.
And yet you say Britain's open for business. There is great concern from the business community about the living wage, minimum wage, call it what you will. How many jobs do you think will be lost as a result of that?
I don't want to see any jobs being lost, but I think the most sensible number to use is the OBR itself. So the independent OBR said, they said 60,000, but that's in the context of 1 million jobs being created. So that means the jobs growth continues. We'll continue to have record employment, but we can't be complacent. I don't think I could sit here or anyone and say, look, this jobs growth is going to continue. We've got to keep working on all the other things, whether that's tax rates being reduced, bureaucracy being reduced, investment incentives being increased.
And on Greece, are you worried about that hurting the British economy at the moment, backwash there? Because we could be heading for a very nasty time on the European stage right now.
We could be. I mean, you're right about that, Julian. We could, but if it's the crisis, if it's confined to Greece, because I think you could say this is probably the most well-telegraphed debt default in history. So British business, you could say to some extent, is prepared. And so if it's confined to Greece, I think we're well protected, and there's likely to be very few problems, if any at all. If it's something, of course, that if Greece exits the euro and it becomes contagious, then who knows what the impact, and we can't take. We have to be.
We're all still dancing on the precipice. Thanks to both of you, and thanks to all of my guests.